Hi there, welcome to Pateo Television. My name is Johan Oldenkamp and I'm the presenter of Pateo TV. In this episode, the special guest is a hardcore scientist and a former journalist from Germany. His name is Harald Kautz-Vella. Harald, please welcome into the show.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, before we delve into all the great research that you've been doing lately, can you give us a little bit information about your background? Your scientific background, but also your journalistic background.
Yeah, that's a long story, a bit difficult to tell. I started first geology, then I found it not scientific enough, so I took physics as a second study parallel. Did that kind of in the direction of halfway through both of them, and then swapped to journalism because I realized that science was missing something. I just had the impulse to start writing, and I started with traveling guides and other stuff, one or two novels, one published, the other one not. So something was missing in the heart area with the hardcore science. So I swapped to writing, and then I realized kind of by trying to become a journalist that I actually was trying to become a whore of the system, which I didn't like. So this one kicked me out as well, and that made life a little bit difficult. Then I decided to again finish university into media management. And for a while I worked in the area of script doctoring, producer for feature films for 1.5 years. And from there, it kind of pulled me back to science. Feature films were not financed back then in Germany due to some financial problems in the media economical part. And I was asked to bring in topics for documentaries instead. And this is where I started to deal with physics and geology again. So this is kind of the early part before I really started to get creative. And then I had like 10 years focusing on free energy, which brought me into an understanding of the advanced field physics, scalar fields, scalar potential eddies as the blueprint for life. So this was kind of diving into the very roots of field description as done by Maxwell in the early days. This is 19th century still. And then kind of physics decided to shrink the worldview onto a 3D realm instead of staying 4D like it was in the beginning with the scalar field. They just reduced it because they didn't need the entire picture for building machines, designing machines. So this is engineering physics. But if you want to understand biology and if you want to understand free energy, you need the full spectrum of field equations in 4D. And this is kind of where I a little bit enhanced and complicated my view of the world. And this kind of was the background I had when I was pulled into environmental monitoring in Norway in 2012. Understanding this type of physics and this type of field structures gave me this unique possibility to understand the things that can be found in raindrops and air samples and soil samples and plant tissue samples as described as transhumanistic technologies, which is something so advanced that a normal human wouldn't find a path to fully understand the concept without this little bit more complicated physics in the background.
Yeah, I studied myself scalar physics a little bit too. I'm not a hardcore scientist as you are. I'm coming from more the social sciences background. I'm a psychologist, and but I learned a little bit about the basics, and I studied also, for instance, the work of Kojirev from Russia. So there is much here to learn. But I think the combination in your work is so fabulous because you combine that hardcore science with actually all kinds of secret programs that are going on currently. And then you connect all the different subjects that people worry about or they have a little bit of an idea about, and you somehow you're able to show how they're all connected. And I'm not sure where to start with this because it's a very big subject. But maybe we should start with the origin of life and your idea about the role of Terran-based Black Goo, or the sentient oil, as you call it, and how life is created. And from there, I think we can step on to what influences are there currently to influence our life form as well.
It's a good starting point because it is a subject that is quite well researched. So what we do find on our planet is somehow connected to crude oil at certain point. It's somehow connected to ley line systems, like forming like water streams in underground. We do have oil streams underground. Sometimes they are cut off and brought to the surface. And this is where we do find something called Black Goo or sentient oil, which is a little bit similar to crude oil, like carbon-based, but containing some kind of carbon nanotubes on one hand, and then a set of monoatomic metal mixtures. There are three different types of Black Goo known on the planet that kind of correlate with the three different types of ley lines as well. And the funny thing is, if you get in close contact with this Black Goo, we have reports from Iran, we have reports from the intelligence community in Great Britain that got Black Goo from Falkland, which was the original reason to go there, to go to war, to get hold of this Black Goo. Then what this oil does is getting into telepathic contact with humans, turning out to be a very loving entity, let's call it entity, that is talking our language and has very peaceful aims. And if you kind of talk to this entity, she will reveal herself as Mother Earth. Beautiful. So this is kind of repeating experience. There is a crew in Warsaw at university researching this. They are talking to her as well. So this is not like one crazy being that is making up something. This is an experience that can be repeated. I went through this experience as well into direct communication. And what you can now with the physics in the background, what I would suggest as a description of what happens with a planet. We do have this heavy motion of substances in the lithosphere. So we have water coming up through the ground, mixed with carbon dioxide, going into vortical flows on the way to the surface. And this is what I know from the lab is the perfect condition for transmutation. We do kind of vortex-based transmutation in the lab. This is something describable, repeatable, reliable. And one of the major transmutation lines come from hydrogen to carbon, turning water into oil, plant oil type oil. So this is one part. If you continue the process, you receive precious metals. Okay. You produce silica and you produce precious metals. So all the components of the Black Goo, like we got the analysis from the Gulf of Mexico, are kind of can be found in the transmutation lines that we know from the lab. So I would guess this is something that is produced by upstreaming waters by transmutation, just to get the basic substances. And transmutation is already a 4D process. Transmutation occurs if you kind of concentrate energies on a matter on the spot, hiring the scalar potential, then you get shifts in order, which is nothing else than turning lower frequent elements into higher frequent elements. This is how it can be described from the lab side. So this is how the substance is produced. Now the possibilities within the substance is that you have all these precious metal single atoms capable of collecting and resending light. So what you get is kind of a how do you call that? A pattern of atoms in defined distance, depending on the concentration of heavy metals in the substance, interchanging or exchanging bio-photons or photons, first photons, in bidirectional way, annihilating each other. And this already is the basic physics of our biosphere, just that it is still not alive, still not conscious of itself. This is just one set within the Earth. Then the next step is that at the black smokers at the bottom of the ocean, this type of oil is released into the oceans. And this is where geologists say life has been first created, close to the black smokers at the bottom of the oceans. And then something must have happened, that this kind of light exchange within the liquid that is basically distributed all around the planet, connected in piping systems, starts to fall apart into cyclic and individualized units, which is the foundation of life. So what we have inside the planet is a immortal consciousness that basically never forgets anything and is completely interconnected within itself, like a one big quantum computer. And then you have the same substances forming life within the biosphere. The atoms then are placed in the center of the DNA as a receiving and resending antenna. The clusters are built up within a being in the similar ways, but we have cyclic developments like giving birth to children that are giving birth to children, and we have individuals that do not connect 100% the way that the big one in the middle is connected. But still, the two realms are 100% mirroring each other. So whatever happens within the biosphere is sent to the inner part of the planet and is recognized and remembered there. And the other way around, or the memories of the life that already lived on the surface, is given back as instinct. So this is how a planet functions.
Kind of symbiotic.
Yeah. And this is why we can say that this is where it becomes kind of philosophical if we say we are all one and everything is connected. This is true within the biosphere if you include the big Black Goo entity that is giving the planetary consciousness. Down there, everything is one. And us being individuals is kind of an illusion created by this disconnectiveness. And there it's getting interesting, because being disconnected is actually not the natural state of humans.
No.
And this is where the second type of Black Goo comes in, that we know from samples, which is Black Goo that is connected to meteorite sites. So at a certain time in the history of our planet, we had an intrusion of alien Black Goo that was coming down with hundreds of meteorites, building a cluster of an alien planetary consciousness around the planet. And parts of the biosphere, especially humans, disconnected from the Earth, from their natural instincts, and reconnected to this intruding consciousness, which was like based on a different field geometry. Having 3 chakras only, the planet has like the full capability of all human chakras, 7 chakras, including love and all emotions we know as humans. And the intrusive Black Goo is running on a complete different field geometry. if you look at this bio-photon exchange, physics is giving the possibility to interconnect a 90 degree, 180 degree, and then 30-60. And typical for our chakra system is the 30-60. So the heart is in this 30-60 angle field structure. And the only ones in our biology that are rectangular or binary is thought, binary, and sexuality, rectangular, from the field structures. The biophotons interconnect. And this intrusive system of the alien black goo was completely binary and in rectangular structures. So it is mainly interfering with thought and sexuality. At the same time, it contains something that is extremely painful for us. So the idea at a certain point came up or came to me that actually this is black goo from a planet that went through self-destruction with its entire biosphere. And then actually this consciousness pattern, the experience of self-destruction with all the pain connected, intruded our emotional collective fields. And this is what we call the deterioration from paradise. Introducing trauma energy into a system makes every single individual disconnect completely because it's too painful to feel into the collective. This is the birth of free will, because then the brain kind of jumps in and says, okay, I don't feel what my place is anymore. So I need to think about what to do. This is where the free will comes into the game. This brain, ego-centered free will. And at the same go, this is aligning us humans with the alien black goo field, because this is binary. So all we can think is think and fuck. Yeah, this is what is kind of left. And in between, there's no empathy, there's no warm emotions for other people. So if you exactly want to know what this type of consciousness turns humans into, the SS in World War II was playing around with that stuff. It was one of the first sources where I got the material from, was from researchers going into underground facilities from World War II. And they were massively messing around with this alien black goo as a occult stone, worshipping their demons. And just look at their behavior throughout Europe. Completely free of empathy, brutal, emotionless, cold-hearted. And this is the quality of this alien field.
So we can conclude then, I think, that with Operation Paperclip, all this knowledge and all these instruments and so on, these experiments went to secret parts of the USA organizations, and it still is going on.
Yes, if you look into the history of these societies, actually the clearest line you can find from beginning with the foundation of the Tavistock Institute in London in 1911, I think, founded by half Crown, half Rothschild Bank, 50-50, to kickstart World War I. It was their only goal. They invented the term and the technique of propaganda to drive people into the war, and both families are coming out of black magic traditions. So this is a completely dark black magic project. And from the Tavistock, you can kind of see all the lines spreading. We have the Frankfurt School on one hand to destroy the core family and reinvent socialism 2.1 or 2.0 or 1 point something. So learning from the failure in Russia to design the socialism that one day will rule the world. This is one part, destroying the core families to kill the last bits of healthy instinct within humans. And another line was basically that the Tavistock went to the United States prior to World War II and gave birth to all those agencies we know, like CIA, Office of Naval Intelligence, which is like 1,000 times bigger than the CIA from volume, NSA, NASA. So all these agencies and most of the think tanks are basically children of Tavistock. I think they run a 6 billion budget per year to completely control social science on the planet. And social science is basically the foundation to mind control. This is what came out of this single attempt of let's invent propaganda to kickstart World War I. And the agencies actually were the ones who, at a certain point, took, with the attempt to design new mind control techniques, they started to involve chemistry and to target individuals and people not only by messing up their minds with words and pictures, but also introducing harmful chemistry and later transhumanistic technologies to create like interfaces between their possibilities to radiate with antenna signals, creating the interface within humans to read these signals as biological information. So this is the input part, and the other way around to transform the light patterns within the body into antenna readable signals that can be read out. So this is kind of spying on us, tracking us down, spying on us. So this is what these transhumanistic technologies are designed for. It's not a secret. This is all open, accessible, and the scientific papers are available. The technologies are 100% the same as described in the paper is what you find in the environment.
Yeah, for instance, MK Ultra is by most people known, and Monarch too, but most people don't realize that their goal is to have full control over human beings, but with at least as much effort as possible, because then we can serve their agenda in the best way. What's your take on this? And another question I have already put it in here is the Thule organization. Maybe you did research on that too, and maybe you can bring that in this explanation as well.
We can start with MK Ultra, because this is interesting. This super soldier concept actually is advanced witchcraft. If you know about the history of black magic rituals and techniques, what they started to do very early is to torture the being of children out of the body. If you cause a certain amount of pain in a child, the child will just move out. Yeah. Which means creating a split that is then not based, not incarnated anymore in the body, but is hovering outside. And this split can be educated to do things. It is mobile. It can like act as an attaching spirit to control other people. It can utilize like torture energies, feelings of torture, to force people to take certain decisions. And this is the old-fashioned witchcraft, as it was practiced in the Middle Ages already, like creating splits by being brutal and using these splits to gain worldly power and to be able to freely act from the field side, which we know as magic. Yeah, but it's not magic. It's just a little bit fucked up, very highly developed knowledge about what a biological system is actually, including the astral realm, where the splits move. And MK Ultra was kind of an attempt to get most possible effect out of this technique. And what they created was really year-long torture hells for children, starting with 10,000 abducted children, having 50 survive the torture, to create the ideal super soldier. And the thing that nobody knows is actually that these super soldiers, the ones we see afterwards, the survivors, they're kind of half-empty shells. So they don't even know what the split is doing. So they all kind of come out as whistleblowers and, you know, poor children that were abducted, and everybody is going into empathy with them, trying to help, you know, to come along with all these trauma that they had to suffer from. But actually the split is still active. And it might take over control if wanted. And it's not the individual that is controlling the split. It is still the agency that is controlling the split. And this is the concept of MK Ultra. If you ask me about the Thule Society,
because the island down in the Falklands, actually where they really went, also known the Morgellons Island, but its name is Thule, and I think there was a Thule Gesellschaft in Deutschland, a Thule Society, and I think they knew all about this Black Goo, but I'm not sure if you did research on this too, Harald.
My research goes back to World War II and the years prior to it. I never could connect Black Goo to the Thule Society. Didn't find anything connecting them. Because anyway, the Thule is more like a huge basin for all the people who were interested in spirituality. And today, at least in Germany, it is very organized, like everyone knows where he stands. You have people who know they are white and act white, and we have people who know they are black and act black. And in other parts of the world I had to experience, it's like everything that is coming out of this magical realm is interesting. And they do not differentiate at all between black and white. It's just interesting. It's something new to discover, and they get fascinated by it. And I guess this was the state of mind they had in the times of Thule.
You talk about magic, huh? You talk about magic, not about skin color, to not confuse people here. But it's black and white magic, yeah, okay.
Yeah, magic. And back then, what you can read from the history is that Hitler basically cleansed the Thule Society from all white fragments, leaving a basin with the people who were more tending towards the dark agenda. And then he absorbed them into the state-run cults like SS, SA. And then he said, we completely put an end to the Thule Society. So it was forbidden. And the only fraction that kind of survived because they were backed up and supported by the military was the Vril Society. And from those we know that they did have alien contact. They were the ones to design the first flying saucers, human-made flying saucers in the 30s. And they were, till the end of the war, protected by the military.
The Hanebauer, yeah.
Hitler didn't like them, they didn't like Hitler.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of an organization that was inert against the attacks of the regime, because protected mainly by Navy and Air Force. But it was never weaponized.
No, I've seen a video on YouTube of Hanebau. I'm not sure which type it was, but you could actually see it lift off and then it come down again. So
Hanebau was kind of the back engineering run by the SS. Okay. They observed that Thule just did Vril did civil projects, just going for space travel. And the SS, of course, got curious in how the technology works, and they managed to reconstruct the technology, and they built this Hanebau series of flying series. But also them were not weaponized till the end of the war. And this, I guess, is connected to the fact that actually Hitler was a Rothschild man within the bloodline, coming from the family. And he was educated by Tavistock. No, no big miracle. He was it's even possible to track it down to the roots, because he was injured by nerve gas in World War One, and he lost his eyesight, but not because his eyes were really destroyed. It was a psychological trauma, and he was treated by some Tavistock doctors that removed this with a hypnosis, made him see again. And it's reported that while they were treating him, actually there was a bomb alarm, and they interrupted the thing in the middle, and he got kind of stuck on this hypnotic belief that I can do everything, no one can stop me, and it was induced for self-healing. And from then on, after he got stuck on this madness, Tavistock realized that he could be the ideal leader to run Germany as a huge false flag attacking the rest of the world.
Oh, that's much earlier than I thought. I thought there was the Munich Putsch, where he was convicted to jail for a while, and I think he was trained there to become the leader. But you're now saying he was already chosen and influenced before that.
Yeah, it is the earliest moment that I could find where he got in contact with the other black forces that might have not, maybe they didn't choose him back then as the one, but they, you know, you always, if you have a plan, you always pick out 3, 4, 5 possible candidates to say these could be educated to fill into this role. And he definitely was already one of them in World War One, and he did a good job, so they took him. So he was the one at the end to run the politics in Germany. And after the war was lost, like the elites wanted it to have, he was removed from North America. You have lots of FBI files that he did not commit suicide.
No, it was never found. But you say North America. I thought it was to
No, South.
Argentina. Yeah. There are even pictures on the internet of him at old age, so that's remarkable. Okay, maybe we should continue with the very big subject of chemical trails and everything that's connected with that. And I think the story has more than one layer. Maybe can you give a summary of these? I think there are 3 layers in here, and then explain that in a little bit more detail, the one that is most relevant for people.
Yes, we actually do have 3 generations of transhumanistic concepts.
Okay.
Overlapping and interacting. And they were introduced one after the other. The earliest one that came into the game, it was basically tested in the 80s, becoming visible as the mad cow disease in Great Britain. This was the first airborne test of how does this work on the population. And this is a combination of malnutrition, especially copper, mercury poisoning, and the introduction of barium strontium titanate piezo nano-crystals. They are, and this part, these piezo crystals, they have a second role that lies not within the intelligence communities, but within the military community. They use it as particulate plasma for radar technologies. So if you want to have a rocket shield, like every big country has a rocket shield today, this is done by bringing out nanoparticles into the atmosphere by spray pyrolysis within the jet engines. This is just normal military technology, and they kind of do the job for the intelligence communities without even knowing what they're doing. They've got these technologies delivered, and they utilize them, and the intelligence community has got these particles in the air, in the food, in the water, and in the humans then. And what they do basically, the mercury is stripping the nervous system so that the nerve itself can be dissolved. The lack of copper due to malnutrition is pulling out the copper atoms from the nerve strings. So you have remaining protein prion chains. that kind of go loose and go berserk within the system. And then the body tries to heal himself to re-establish a nervous system. So he regrows these protein prion chain parts with barium and strontium from heavy metal poisoning instead of copper, because there's no copper around. And this new built nervous system is ferromagnetic, so it reacts in itself on electromagnetic signals, and it kind of grows onto the piezo crystals that have barium and strontium as well on the surface. And these piezo crystals are like the receiving antenna. You can give in an electromagnetic pattern, and the crystal will convert it into an electron flow by being piezo-electric. This is one of the properties of piezo-electric materials, transforming radio signal into current flow. You know this from these beautiful shoes. When you run, they have like light bulbs on the side, and the battery never is flat because there is no battery. It's working with piezo-electrics, turning pressure, in this case, into electricity. And the same way it works with radio signals. And this is basically the concept of a nanobot, self-assembling nanorobot that is forming an interface between radio signal and the nervous system, first generation. Second generation also is self-assembling, and it is made out of two compounds. This is the Morgellon fungus, just a biological designed entity that actually it in itself, it's not killing us. It is infecting us, and it is living within the human like all other bacteria and fungi. We have billions of them inside our body, and it is just part of our biology. And what they do, they have in nature the role to pull in heavy metals. And this is why the body is utilizing them as a kind of friendly entity, because it helps to select and collect the heavy metals out of the blood. So this is why the more poisoned the body is, the more Morgellons it will grow within itself to kind of absorb these heavy metal amounts. So this is one part. And the second part that is sprayed actually are quantum dot liquids, which is a heavy metal based chemistry that also has this ability to up convert electromagnetic radiation into DNA readable light, and the other way around, down convert DNA emitted light signals into readable electromagnetic signals. So this also self-assembles. So we eat these quantum dot dyes, we infect ourselves with a fungus, and then the fungus pulls in the dyes, and then he becomes a little plasmonic antenna within our system everywhere. So every cell of the body can be reached by the light emitted from these antennas. We glow from inside if we're hit by a signal. And this is a perfect read-write unit, like a tape recorder. I can kind of collect the signal emitted by a person while I make him angry. And if I want to turn over a government in a country, I just need to send this anger to all the people of the country, and they will stand up not even knowing why. So this is kind of how this mind control works on light-based. And the third generation is something that is actually a little bit out of this world. It is what we can see is that we do have synthetic RNA. RNA is half DNA, one string only. And synthetic RNA contains 3 different types of base pairs. One is designed to produce light of certain quality, like bio-photon production. One is designed to produce chemistry. They use this in mass production of herbal medicine. If it's too expensive to grow a plant, then you take a bacteria, implant the ability to produce certain chemicals, and then the bacteria produce the identical substance like the plant normally would do, but in higher amounts. So this is why they kind of invented these synthetic RNA and DNA to produce light patterns, to produce chemical products, and you have control units that basically work like transistor chains. So this is a little RNA quantum computer that can be controlled with radio signals. And it's like it works like a dial-in code. You have 8 different sine waves following each other, and each sine wave is opening one transistor. And if you open them in the right
order,
then the RNA part behind is activated. So all you need is a signal to activate light production or chemical production. And this is one side. I guess this is the side that the intelligence community is aware of, because they are controlling these radio signals. It was tested in the last Iraq war. Actually, the people who whistleblowed on this said this was the only reason to go to war with Iraq again, because they wanted to completely test the system if it works.
Okay.
And this, we have the reports about soldiers suddenly ending up with the feeling that they burn, the entire body is in flames because they were hit with microwave weapons. Why you had soldiers surrendering just, you know, out of the wish to surrender suddenly without fighting. These were all these tests of the different possibilities to utilize psychotronic weapons and down to lethal weapons. I think the shortest one was a 6-second death with some poisons produced by the RNA. And the other side, where I believe that the agencies themselves don't even know that they were abused to bring this into the world, is if you bring these RNAs airborne, you create a cluster as well. And we know that a DNA RNA cluster has this quality and ability to carry consciousness. So what we basically host in these cluster fields in the air can be any conscious entity. Now, if you compare this to this concept of Black Goo, you can host something like a planetary consciousness. If we have these fields all around the planet in a sphere, anything can kind of attach to this RNA cluster. And what we seem to have is something, if you look, it's maybe I can send you in pictures later where you can see these Morgellons and piezo crystals. If you come close with your body to a sample of them, they start to glow because they can upconvert body heat to visible light. And if you look at the glowing patterns then under the microscope, you get these rectangular field structures. It's not like 30, 60 degree like our biosphere. So this entire field structure, also the antenna setups utilized by the intelligence community, it's all binary or 90-degree angles, what they utilize. 90-degree would be the cloverleaf antenna setup, and then you have like binary spirals. And this is all about controlling an artificial field or building an artificial field that then becomes like a hovering spirit within the RNA clusters in the air. And the last thing is that basically we carry this, if we are infected, it's virus-like infecting us. If we are infected by this RNA, this external field can go straight through us and take over, because it controls light. Actually, it takes over every vital function of our body that is binary or in 90 degrees. So they 100% control the mind and the sexuality. And
when you say this, Harald, then I immediately have an association with the Borg and Star Trek. We will assimilate you, and resistance is futile. But this is pure assimilation you talk about here.
Yes, this brings up to a fully working concept of biorobot that basically is giving an artificial AI that is hovering in a field of RNA clusters, fed or controlled by antenna systems, the possibility to intelligently jump into any human being, take over his consciousness for a moment, and he might remember or not remember what he did at that point, but we can be taken over completely as biorobots. And this is what the actually technological possibilities of these technologies are. And the last bit connecting us to this hovering field, it doesn't look to me as if this would be a human project. It more relates to this, much more relates to this black magic tradition. And the black magic tradition relates to the communication with the Black Goo, with the alien Black Goo, and the entity within the alien Black Goo. So this looks to me as if a planetary consciousness that arrived here is intelligent enough to try to take over the biosphere. And the last goal it will have, this is what you can read out of the black magic tradition. This is all about having these demonic entities, which can be understood as the souls connected to the alien biosphere that do not have a possibility to incarnate anymore. Like a planet dying, self-destroying, going to a different planet, taking all the dead souls with him as a projection in this kind of geometry of having the collective inside and the individual outside. Or the individuals outside are still there as a projection from inside, and they're looking for new possibilities to incarnate. But the biology doesn't fit because we have this trinary system, they have this binary system. So what this intrusive intelligence tried was to turn the planet into a binary system, to give their souls the possibility to take over the biology existing here. And this is actually, if you look into the black magic thing, it's always about having the demon first communicating with you, and at the end he jumps in and takes over your system.
It makes a lot of sense what you're saying. Yeah, it's a really big picture, but everything
yes,
falls into place here. So this is really
it is 100% coherent. And the scary thing is, once you start to look at our daily life, you realize how much we gave in to this agenda. If you look at our daily habits, like the consumption of meat is actually following the tradition of blood and fire sacrifice.
Mm.
And this is going back to the root. Now, if you ask why blood and fire sacrifice, at the beginning it was like utilizing the bio-photon burst that appears when you kill an animal or kill a human. Then all the energy from the being is released and can be utilized to feed this alien entity and to control things. And this was not enough for them after a while because their system grew. So they started not to kill, but to torture. Because torture energy can be fed, they can feed on torture energy as well. So basically what we do with eating meat is supporting their system of torture energy collection by torturing billions and billions of animals on our farms. And this is not like, it is never in our interest except from, the profit of the farmers to run their farm cheap. But also the profit, if you look, what is profit? It is the concept of scarcity. This is not what our planet is about. Scarcity is a cause of control. Control is within the binary fields. Binary fields are predictable. AI is about predictable behavior, and they are trying to turn us into predictable beings. And this is about control. Within a predictable system, everything is controllable. Control is not a human, not an Earth type way of thinking. Control gives birth to scarcity, because if everybody grabs what he can hold, the other one will have nothing left. Scarcity brings in real estate and money. Money and real estate brings in politics. So the entire setup of what we think is normal is already this binary infection of our planet. And if we want to heal this kind of infection, or if the planet wants to be healed from this infection, the only thing we can do is get trinary, unpredictable, emotional again. Because
sorry to interrupt, Harold. Can you explain the main difference between binary and what you call trinary? What makes us humans humans?
All the chakras, except of mind and sexuality, are trinary. They have these 30 and 60-degree angles in bio-photon exchange. And this is making, if you have like 3 poles, you come into nonlinear physics. And nonlinear physics are not predictable, they're self-organizing. This is where you get things like spontaneous ideas, where you have uncontrollable, unpredictable emotions. This is all kind of, it's non-linear, it's chaotic, it's fractal. And this is what we as humans actually, there's the source and the root, this is what we as humans recognize as beauty. Fractal and beauty is one and the same. So this is our biology. The more fractality you find in things, the more you enjoy it, feel attracted to it, the more beautiful it is.
And how do we...
thing.
Yeah, sorry. No, I just want to ask, how do we stimulate becoming more and more like that? So is it stimulating the 5 chakras in between, or is it about connecting with our heart consciousness, or is it about love and caring? And can you, what is your take on this?
The ways can be different. What I found out to be easy to reproduce for everyone, we do have the possibility to first kind of map our consciousness, finding the place of identification. Where am I?
Okay.
And as far as I experience it, you can get 3 different answers to that one. If you're like more ADS, ADHS, autistic, or Asperger type, then you will find yourself hovering in the field, being empathic with everyone, but not feeling yourself. One possibility. Most of the people who are well educated and embedded in the society will be identified with her personality, with her ego, and will localize themselves here. Very much connected to the thing that does the talking in our head.
Mm-hmm.
And other people will localize themselves in the heart. Like, here is my center. When I talk, I hear myself resonating in the chest area. And I feel identified with this part of my body. This is kind of being heart connected. Now, of course, it depends on where you find yourself. But at a certain point, I think everybody can discover that he can move around. That it needs some meditation to go into the field, into the collective realm. That it needs mental concentration to pull yourself into the head. And that it also is possible, once you have located yourself, to consciously pull yourself into the heart chakra. And then if you manage to pull yourself into the heart chakra and then talk, you function as a completely different being, because suddenly you are unified with your ability to create on field level. Once you're identified with your heart, you can start to decide things for yourself. And the path from there now would be, we became very unconscious. During the last 16,000 years, since this event with the Black Goo happened, we disconnected from big parts of ourselves because it was too painful. Then we started to mess around with each other. And this caused more pain and more suffering. And if you make somebody suffer, you suffer yourself. And suffering is not convenient, so you cut yourself off from the suffering. So basically, we are loaded with uncomfortable emotions over lifetimes, collected over lifetimes. And this is what we call our under or subconsciousness. Something we do not like to feel anymore, as simple as that. And the next step from kind of being able to pull yourself into the heart would be to dissolve all these unfelt emotions, bring them up again, integrate them into your being, express them if needed, or just let go of them. This is a possibility from the heart to release things consciously. And the beautiful thing is we have this possibility to decide within our heart. If we pull ourselves down there, we just have the slight fearing, there's unfelt pain, just go there and out of your chest say, I feel my pain, and it happens immediately. This is kind of the possibility to reconquer yourself. Mm-hmm. And once you're completely cleared and open and conscious again, you can consciously decide to reconnect to your fellow beings. Maybe starting with, I feel the pain of Mother Earth. This is kicking everyone out of his control system to feel her pain, the thing we caused to our planet. It completely, it washes your tears out of your eyes, and it completely takes you down to the reality we create here. And suddenly we do feel it again. And this is how healing happens. If you have somebody that is perpetrating without feeling what he causes, the solution is to make this entity feel again what he causes. And then he will, like nature is designed, will automatically stop causing pain because it's painful for himself. This is kind of the concept of going back into empathy to put an end to the endless destruction we are causing and living. So this is basically the essential thing is, if we follow this path, all the problems are solved. The transhumanistic technologies cannot take us over, because once the trinary system is in place and we are identified with our heart chakra, the trinary bio-photon system, every binary intrusion will be felt as an intrusion, as something alien. Suddenly there's a thought in your brain and you just know, this is not me. You know, somebody is punching a hole in my head, introducing a sentence, but I didn't say that. But it needs this clarity to be able to distinguish your own thoughts from inserted thoughts.
Yes.
Also sexuality. If you love a partner and this transhumanistic technology is trying to introduce that everybody is after having black women, you know, we had these experiments when suddenly 5-6 people come up to me last night. I had a sexual dream, and it was the same plot with everyone. So they were playing around with introducing combination of mind and sexual settings into people. And so once you take this from the heart again, whatever your sexuality tries to make you feel, you can realize this is not me. So it's about actually the identification with the right part of yourself, instead of going here or going down there, you know, like men tend to go rather down there. So this is solving even the problem of the danger of being assimilated by this alien consciousness. There is no danger. If we do the right thing, there's no danger to get assimilated. But it is not a comfortable path at the beginning.
No.
Because the first thing to feel is the pain we cause. And we have, within the trinary system, we have all these paths of solving things. You know, if you realize at a certain point, this pain is something I feel, this pain is something I caused, you realize all these victim, perpetrator, savior games. This is what you clearly see if you go into this. You will be seeing very individually what kind of games you have played. And then let's say you have lived the perpetrator role and you innerly face the victim. So the first thing that comes up is shame. I don't want to look at this. This is still pushing it away. When you let go from this and say, but I want to look at this, shame disappears. And then the next feeling comes up, feeling sorry about what you did. And you can do this in your mind. This is still the wrong place, because then nothing happens. If you go into your heart, you connect to the empathy. So it's all about feeling the pain of your victim while feeling sorry for what you did. And this is the difficult thing. If you manage to kind of connect the two positions of these games, of the victim-perpetrator game, feeling kind of sorry as a perpetrator, at the same time feeling the pain of the victim, then you can say, I'm sorry. And if forgiveness comes, then this is what you might call the transformation of darkness. This is what is making us as humans evolve and develop. And if you want to believe in a higher purpose, this is why this higher setup came into existence in this creation, to confront us with this system, to make us grow by overcoming it.
I use the word repenting for this, not in a Christian way, but in a way to see what you have done and then step over it and learn from it. It's a beautiful experience, but it was necessary for you to break free from that old habit.
Yeah, especially if you kind of realize that one can live both sides of a game, like victim perpetrator. If you took both consciously remember having taken both roles, and then go into the abstract thing above it. Afterwards, it's amazing how different you will treat all victims and all perpetrators you meet on the street. And the beauty of this learning becomes visible. You know, because if you meet another perpetrator and the full understanding of what he goes through being unconscious and caught in a game, you will never get angry with him. You will never try to victimize him to make him stop, you know, becoming part of the game again. You will just understand what he is going through. And this is kind of opening the space for the love needed to bring healing into the world. And it's amazing. It's so strong and so beautiful to position yourself outside of these games.
Like you're a spectator watching a game on the field or whatever. Yeah. You're connected, but not connected at the same time. So it allows you to see what really is the dynamics behind it. And then you may realize that you are actually one and the same consciousness field, or you can call it any word you like, but we're all expressions of the same, of all coming from the same source. Beautiful. I like the way you brought this hardcore technology and science to a very spiritual level, and see that it's actually all about the same. Looking at the present day, people have their smartphone all the time at their head, or they are constantly going like this through it. I don't think you worry about the future. I think you don't warn people of doing this, not or that. Maybe we should stop eating meat, and I fully agree with that. I'm vegetarian for long. But do you warn people for using smartphones, or do you worry people for eating food that is not biological or things like that? Or do you focus on the spiritual aspect and trying to become first a trinary being, as you call it?
Both needs to be done. You cannot clear yourself as long as you scoff materialized torture energies. You know, it's like cleaning a water basin while you pour red color into it. This does not work.
Okay.
Yeah, and it needs it needs kind of full consciousness about what we do there, emotional consciousness. It's like, look at people who eat meat and be 100% aware of that they actually are conducting a black magic ritual. And then your stomach turns around just from itself, and you will not be able, if you have this emotional access to the topic, you will not be able to participate in this black magic ritual anymore. This is one part. The other part is, as long as you go to buy your food in the supermarket, you have this ratio of 1 to 200 in nutritions, and you must eat 200 bananas instead of 1 to get the nutritions you need. And if you don't get the nutritions you need, then your body is switching to survival mode and is asking for meat. And then it will be completely ridiculous not to eat meat. And then you again fall for the black magic ritual because your body is demanding it. This is why so many people try, from the moral point, try to become vegetarians. But then they say, but I need it. Of course they need it because they are malnutrition, because they go to buy their food in the supermarket, which is not food. This is poison, pure poison, loaded with their chemicals and free of nutrition. So if you take all steps at one go, like go to a decent ecological market, buying ecologically grown food only, not from the shelf in the supermarket, from the real McCoy, then you will lose this hunger for nutrition and you will be able to not take in meat. Then slowly your system is clearing itself from torture energies. And you're not kind of round up anymore with these torture energies, because this is their control system. They will never let you ascend as long as you're kind of controlled by pain. Yeah, so then this is how you can pull out their anchor from your system to become halfway clear of pain and torture. And then it is possible to go to your personal topics, to go into your emotional deposits, to dissolve them. And maybe there it's important. There are kind of first-hand emotions like joy, pain, sadness, whatever. And then you have this fear thing. And the fear is not actually it can be an emotion of itself if it's in the present. Like there comes the lion hungry, so I'm afraid to be eaten. Yes, this is fear, but most of the fear we experience is not more than a gate or a door to different feelings. So if I have something within myself that I do not want to feel, then I build up a fear structure around it that is keeping me away from this other emotion. And then fear becomes the gate. The moment I kind of feel fear of feeling something else, I just decide, I dive into my fear. And then I go through the fear into the other topic. So it has a little bit different quality when you work through it than emotions that are directly accessible.
It can function like a defense mechanism as well, it's true. I think we've covered a lot of ground here. Is there any subject I forgot to ask about, Harald? So I think we should round up now. But yeah, maybe you have something that you really want to share with the audience here.
Yes, there's one more thing. This is part of their psychological tricks. What I've been talking about now, it is all kind of far out for most of the people. And especially the worldview that is within this, like looking at politicians, kings and queens, secret societies, intelligent communities as all, these black magic agendas trying to mess around with us. This is not the picture we have from our normal media. This is not what we learn in history. In history books, everybody's trying to do their best, and then there are conflicts, and then there are wars, and they do not focus on the real dark agenda behind. So this is like two different views of the world. And actually what the system does is to make the trench between those two pictures as big as possible. This is why if you look at false flag attacks, it is so obvious that they're fooling around with us. If you look at these collapsing twin towers with 3D holograms that cross the building, then the nose comes out on the other side. Then next publication, you have a black frame covering the nose coming out. You have 4 different places in New York where this crashes are filmed from, and all 4 places have exactly the same woman screaming, "Oh my God!" You know, you overlay the frames, and it's identical woman being at 4 places in New York at the same time, screaming the same sentence. And when it crashes into the building, it's the hi-hat of a drum set being reversed. Yeah, and this is kind of manufactured within 20 minutes between the incident and the publication of the videos. This is why it was so bad quality.
Yeah.
Why they used one woman screaming, "Oh my God." It is all so obvious. We have Nizza and Munich, and the same Mossad husband or husband of a Mossad agent is both filming Nizza and filming the Munich event, exactly knowing. It is so obvious, and this is not about hiding it badly. This is about making it obvious.
So that people are forced to choose in which side they want to be, because, yeah, you can't be in the middle. Either you see it's not true, or you fully believe the lies from mainstream media. And on the other hand, they try to bring everybody who's questioning into the group of people who are somehow not completely normal, or lost their mind, or find things to question everything. So actually, a kind of mental illness or something. Is that what you're trying to say? Yeah.
It's making the real reality, so weird, so out of mind, that it's impossible to state, actually, this is the world I'm living in. Actually, we've been fooled for generations completely. Nothing is left to rely on. Everything I learned, I need to let go from everything I learned. I need to completely redefine these positions of good and evil. I need to realize that actually I've been pushed into destructive games all my life. It's only from now on that I might begin to do something reasonable, because everything was so completely different. And the bigger this gap gets, the more difficult it becomes for people to jump. Yeah, and this is where, funnily, this is the only point where people do emotional decisions. Yeah, and then they say, this is too painful for me to do. My wife might not love me afterwards. My neighbors will tell I'm a conspiracy theorist. I will lose half of my friends. Yes, you will, because your friends are nuts, and your wife is with you for your money. And then you realize how many lies are around you. And once you're through, you find real friends and real partners. And then life suddenly becomes marvelous and beautiful and enriching, and you get a feel to express your love. Before, as long as you're living in their matrix, there isn't even a slot to connect your love to, because everybody is sitting on fake emotions. So this is no fun compared to what comes after waking up. Everything before was no fun. It was just distorting in a way. And this is what I can promise, that yes, it is inconvenient. Feeling again is inconvenient. But the part you gain when you realize that even this gap you need to cross is consciously manufactured by them. Take that anger to give you the power to jump.
Yeah, and overcome the fear for the unknown, because what you get there is much more valuable than what you lose here, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful last words, Harald. Thank you very much for being my guest and sharing all this information. And most of all, thank you for doing your astonishing research, because I've learned a lot from you. I thought I knew it all until I met you, your work, and it was like a whole new book was opened, and it made a lot of sense, and it connected with the things I already knew, but it gave a little bit, it gave even more in-depth understanding of what's going on. So thank you very much, Harald, and hope to stay connected. Bye for now.
Okay.